The fuck? What is this? I didn't. Come on, man. So you're telling me that I have to do it this way tonight? Why? I never do it this way. And this is going to be a problem. This is a problem. All right. I don't know how that happened, but now that's going to complicate things a little bit. Let me see what I can do, y'all. Let me see what I can do. Uh-oh. Okay. Let me do it like this. This is totally not what I was trying to do. Okay. So now y'all will see more of my set than I normally want. Okay. Lean that back a little bit. Or do I have to do it like that? Ugh. All right. Well, no, it's still kind of cutting off my head, and I don't want that. At least. Okay. Lean that back a little bit. All right. All right. All right. This, I swear, it's always something. It's always something. So, yeah. Hold on. I don't feel comfy. I got to get comfortable. All right. What's up, y'all? I don't know. I'm not feeling the camera. I mean, I used to do it from this angle all the time in the earlier days. Y'all seeing way too much of more of the set than I want y'all to see. You can see the soundproof. You can see my pictures. That's not exactly what I was going for. But we gonna roll with the punches. And the irony of this, like, I know I didn't picture this. I didn't program or set the setting to the horizontal camera. So you get so much more of what y'all never really see, but well, we still got a lot to talk about tonight. So y'all know about the Charlie Kirk thing, and there's so much going on with this thing. I don't believe that they found the killer. They haven't found the suspect. They rounded up a couple of suspects that were wrong. They named the suspects and detained them. Had to let them go. So as you can clearly see, the dragnet is out. And they're making mistakes. And as far as I'm concerned, this administration makes a lot of mistakes, hardly ever takes any accountability for any mistakes, but makes a lot of excuses. They kind of do the things that they would tell you never to do. My man Oakland is in the house. What's good? You said you can see the floor. No, you can't. All right. So I'm gonna tell y'all something. I wasn't even gonna break out the drums tonight. I was just gonna sit in my seat and do this. But you know what? I got to thinking, like, hold on. There are a number of things going on tonight. First of all, I don't know how we got to the horizontal camera angle. I don't know how we did this. So if y'all had to turn y'all phone around, y'all device around, blame me. if it works out, I might do it again, but I didn't mean to do it tonight. Like, y'all seeing too much. Y'all see a little studio. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna fuck it. So you see, I got the same picture on that side. You know what I mean? Like, if I turn it up a little bit, so y'all can see I got a picture on that side, picture on this side. Not that y'all need to see that. Not that y'all need to see that. So, but yeah, I wasn't gonna do the drums because it's kind of a serious topic, and I really didn't want to talk about politics. We were doing well talking about the stuff that I actually think matters as far as our community is concerned. You know what I mean? And then this whole thing popped up today, and I'm deep into politics or whatever. Well, let me say I'm not deep into it, but I'm definitely well abreast of a lot of the political things that are going on. And I didn't want to in any way show homage or pay homage to this man who got killed. However, as a human being and a somewhat humanitarian, I feel for anybody who has been a victim of violence, and especially their families. Now, the man himself, I didn't have any appreciation for. I don't have like, to me, he was like a young Rush Limbaugh. And the last thing that I would ever want in this world is another Rush Limbaugh. Let me get the hardware out of the way. Let me move stuff out of the way, because I ain't gonna lie, y'all, I'm confused. You know, I'm not right. You know, the camera's not tall enough. It's cutting my head off, so I'm not gonna stand up. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and take my seat. This is crazy. Now the camera is over here, so I feel like I need to. I feel like if I just lean straight, like I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I gotta play with this a little bit. I'm not digging this shit. I might have to do it like this. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So, because I have to know where I am with the camera. You said I look short? Yeah, it's the wide angle. It's the wide. What happened to the comments? This is terrible, y'all. This is terrible. What happened to the comments? Okay, there we go. There go the comments. All right. And it won't let me switch it back to the right angle. And to get this right, I would have to stop the whole stream and start all over again. And I don't want to do that. So what's happening, I'll tell you one thing, it's a lot easier to read y'all comments because now there's a lot more space, and it's what up, Dilla B Commons? What's good? Carla, what's good? How y'all feeling? I don't know, man. This might be a wild night tonight. I'm just I feel like I'm looking up at the camera. I'm not normally doing that. I'm gonna have to bring it down. That's what But then the sun this is bad. You know what I'm gonna have to do? I know what I'm gonna do. First of all, this looks terrible. I am going to have to put the camera on top of a box or something like that so it can be a little bit higher. Okay. And then, no, come on, y'all don't give me a hard time tonight. This is already hard enough. Okay. So we do it like that. And then, damn, that didn't work. It's like it didn't work. Now it's too. This is the bullshit. This is really the bullshit. This is the bullshit. Why can't I turn it around? Why can't I? Like I put it 3 inches taller, but it's like it don't matter. It's like it don't matter. So fuck it. This is crazy. All right. So no symbol in the back. This is the straight bullshit, man. This is the bullshit. This shit, I don't know, man. You know, when it comes to my set, my lighting, my microphone, and all of that, I don't normally play. This was a mistake. I don't know how it got set to this, but it won't let me do it on the vertical angle. It's on this horizontal angle. So I gotta, like, the camera is here. So I gotta, instead of looking straight at y'all, I feel like I gotta look over at the camera lens, and that's throwing me off. I'm not digging that. But look, we're here to talk about the whole Charlie Kirk shooting today, which resulted in his death. And I really am interested in hearing how y'all feel about it, because this was unexpected. An assassin, it's considered to be an assassination attempt, and I believe that it was. I don't believe up until this point that they have found the suspect. They haven't cornered, found, captured who they think may have done it. But I'm online. I'm on social media and three or four platforms, and I'm hearing people say things, and there are a lot of mixed emotions. There are a lot of people who obviously supported Charlie Kirk, and there are a lot of people who said, I'm reading a lot of rest in pisses. I'm reading a lot of chickens came home to roost. I'm reading a lot of, well, that's what he get. I'm reading a lot of hate breeds hate. I'm even getting a lot of, why have empathy for him? He said empathy was a bad thing. He even said that there should be like 1 or 2 shooting deaths per year, so we can advocate for the Second Amendment, which is right to bear arms. These are his words. Those are quotes. So taking that into consideration, to me, that's like saying that he doesn't think that anybody should feel sorry for him for being murdered. Now, I'm not sure that his soul feels the same way. Speaking of his soul, I'm hearing people say, like, yo, where he's going, it's going to be awfully hot down there. I don't know. I don't normally like to speak on those kind of things, but tonight we're going to get into what we're going to get into. So, you know what I'm going to do? Since the camera is over here, yeah, I'm going to move my monitor over here, because I got 3 monitors. So this will actually make it better if I read from over this side, because the camera is over that side. So it'll seem more like I'm talking to y'all if I talk on this side. So when I'm reading comments on that side, it almost looks like I'm looking directly at y'all. At least from my point of view, that's what it is. I don't know. This camera angle thing is mad crazy. I feel like I've lessened the value of this stream. Look, half a sun. You don't even know what that shit is. That shit look crazy. That shit look crazy. So I ain't think. But okay, let's get into it. So, what are y'all initial thoughts? What are y'all initial thoughts? My man Dilla B. Commons is in the house. Oakland is in the house. Carla is in the house. Edana, what up, Edana? What's good? And my man Max, what's good, Max? Good to see you, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Dilla says, killing a man in front of his daughters because you didn't agree with his speech is evil, man. You know what? I agree with that. I agree with that. I agree with a lot of opposing views. And, you know, to be honest with you, I'm not really sure which view that I agree with. But I will say this. I don't appreciate racism, and I don't appreciate racist rhetoric. I don't appreciate that. And I don't make excuses for anybody doing that. And me being the kind of man that I am, I don't cry for my enemies. And I'm not going to say that he was my enemy, but he absolutely was not a friend to me. He was not a friend to me or people who look like me. And I feel some kind of way about that. I've listened to Charlie Kirk on a number of occasions, and I've heard him go head to head debating with black people who unfortunately didn't know what they were talking about. They weren't really prepared for the type of factual rhetoric that he would throw out there. Like, they didn't really know how to handle him. You know, I wish I could have debated somebody like him, because like when he asked questions like, why is it black people can't advance after slavery and after Jim Crow, whatever? Why do y'all blame racism for everything? And, you know, when I hear anybody say that, black or white, I realize how ignorant they are, how incredibly ignorant they are. So, you know, like I heard him ask this one black dude at some university. He asked him, he said, look at the Jews. Look at the Jews. You know, why did they do so well after the Holocaust, where where half of their whole community had been killed in the Holocaust? I'm like, what do you mean? Reported 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust. You think there are only 12 million Jews in the world? How about 18 million? You don't think that there are 100 million Jews worldwide? What do you mean they died? But anyway, he asked, why are they doing so well after the Holocaust? As if the Holocaust could be compared to slavery in any kind of way. How could the Holocaust be compared to slavery in any kind of way? I wish I could have debated him with a question like that, because I would have asked, how were the Jews doing before the Holocaust? That's the question I would have asked. And the young boy that he was talking to couldn't handle that question. But that's what I would have asked. I would have asked, how were the Jews doing before the Holocaust? Because that might have a lot to do with how they did after the Holocaust. The Jews were rich before the Holocaust. That was one of the things that Hitler hated about the Jews. He said that the United States was just a haven for Jews, and that they were running everything. All of the Jews in New York ran the whole. This is what Hitler said. All of the Jews in the United States lived in New York, and they ran everything in the United States. That's what he said. He didn't like that. I don't see how you could run anything if you didn't have money and power. And the Jews had that before the Holocaust. So why would you think they didn't have it after the Holocaust? But see, ignorance tries to play on what you don't know. And it works. because most of the people that you're talking to don't know either. When you don't know when you don't know history, and even your own history notwithstanding, of course you can't deal with that kind of stuff. So 31-year-old Charlie Kirk spoke from his limited view of white supremacy. That's, any way you slice it, that's the standpoint that he was speaking from. I get it. I do. I totally get it. Now, we definitely going to have some trolls tonight, so I want y'all to prepare yourselves, because it's going to be a bumpy ride tonight. All right.
You have a call from
Dylan B. Commons.
Dylan B. Commons, what's going on, my brother? How you feeling tonight? What's on your mind? What's good?
Man, all is well. OG, how you doing?
Man, I'm feeling like a real man should, all day, every day. Talk to me.
Praise God. Man, this is definitely a whirlwind conversation, man. I'm about to push back on a few things, but one of the things, and I'll start with this, man, because I think I got an OG that's a lot like you, man, where I work, man, and we was just talking a few weeks ago about Charlie Kirk. They actually started a dialogue, and he was like, "Man, why are you defending him, man?" Because he was showing me clips of him on these campuses talking to young Black students.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of I would say are unprepared to have those kind of dialogues.
Yeah, he was owning them. He was definitely owning them.
Yeah, and it's like it puts me in a weird position, man, because I've always considered myself somewhere in the center. And it's like, I'm not advocating for what he's saying. I'm advocating for his right to say it. You know what I'm saying? And I think it takes a certain level of maturity to understand the difference between the two. It's like, I'm not defending the man necessarily what he's saying, but I'm defending his right to say it. And man, it's interesting because a lot of the clips that I see go viral that are used against him, it's interesting because it's like, are you looking at this man in a soundbite, or are you looking at this man's whole character? And I think there's a lot of people that's on the right, on the far right, that legitimately don't have the character that would indicate that this person is worth saying was a decent human. Charlie Kirk, however, from what I've seen of this man, I said to myself, man, when I heard this, I said, man, that was a decent man. You may not agree with him, but the things that he would advocate for, strong Christian values, family, marriage, the right to say what you believe without fear of being harmed. You know what I'm saying? I think that on a human to human basis, man, it's things that we should all agree upon. Now, I was talking to my boss earlier, man, I go to third shift, man. That's why I love to check out your content, man, because it's beautiful to play, to get through third shift, man.
Yeah, I can dig it.
I love hearing you, man. Definitely always a fun dialogue, man, so I always tune in, man, and try to chip in a little money when I can here and there. But I was talking to my boss, man. I said, man, there's a huge difference between racist and racially insensitive. And it's weird when I see people they say, man, that dude is racist. It's like, man, this is a man who advocated for things that there's some tough truths in there that our community needs to hear, but that's always going to be drowned out by clips where you see, well, it sounds a little racially insensitive. Like, he really don't understand what's going on. And it's like, we started talking about his upbringing. And it's like, for a lot of people that's a little middle class or whatever, the only Black people they may be surrounded by is Black people that did pull themselves up by the bootstrap, got out, did what it took to be there. And if that's all you see is Black people who became successful, you may think that formula is a one-size-fits-all. And you may reflect that in your rhetoric. Is that racist or is that racially insensitive? It's racially insensitive, in my opinion, because it doesn't look at the whole scope of the complications that the community faces, as opposed, you know what I'm saying? So man, when I see people, man, they throw these taglines out. Man, I hate to agree with Trump on this, but it's like, if you tell everybody, and their mama, this man is a Nazi, this man is an oppressor, this man is a colonizer, and then things like this happen, it's like, man, did we paint this man in the right light? Did we really give this man a just due and say, hey, man, look, I disagree with him, but I don't think that he wanted to harm me. I think he may have had some bad policy, whatever it may be, or didn't advocate the way that I thought he should, but this man didn't want to cause me harm. You know what I'm saying? And now he's been retaliated in front of his daughters, in front of his wife. You know what I'm saying? It's like, man, we got to get back to humanity, man. So I'm praying, man, that this don't lead to worse. You know what I'm saying? Because, man, the first thought that came to my mind, man, this might be a civil war. When you have a person with that amount of influence, it leads to a lot of emotion, man. So I'm hoping, man, that this can be a step towards de-radicalization as opposed to further going down the, you know what I'm saying, the path that he's advocating against. But that's all I had to say about the matter, man.
So what makes you say that he's a decent man?
Man, because this is from my perspective, man.
I'm just saying. I just want to know. I just want to know, like, what are your ingredients of decency?
Man, look, I live my life through a biblical lens, first and foremost, man. And look, people can agree, disagree with that, but it's just my perspective.
Okay.
To be a decent man is to look. I take care of my home. I take care of my community. I look out for those that need it. I advocate against harmless, not nonsensical violence and disruption. Like, man, I'm like I said, I live in Louisville, Kentucky. I live in the worst part of Louisville, Kentucky, and I live there by choice. You know what I'm saying? Because it's the community that I grew up in. It's the community that I have my wife and my nieces and nephews that come over. I have people shooting in front of my house earlier this year, man. And it's like, man, if a stray bullet catches one of my nieces or nephews, it's like, man, it is a complex issue. You got young people with guns that aren't registered to anyone. They're very, very quick to pull the trigger. And it's like, what I mean by decent man is that, look, man, you raising your family, you staying out of the way. You know what I'm saying? You doing what you need to do. Taking care of the people that, you know what I'm saying, you're associated with. That's what makes you decent. Now, I would ask you, man, do you think what he did for a living, going on college campuses, advocating for free speech, do you think that there was indecency in the way that he moved and operated?
I think he was a no good bastard. And no, I don't think he was decent at all. And because there are a lot of killers and rapists and thieves who took care of their families, took good care of them. You know, yeah, and that doesn't make them a decent man. Just because you look out for your family and do a couple of other good deeds. You know, you had like Ted Bundy, a notable serial killer. He used to help old ladies across the street. Does that erase the fact that you raped and killed a double-digit women? Yeah, I don't think so. You know what I'm saying? As far as I'm concerned, a decent man is an understanding man. A decent man is a helpful man. A decent man is one who tries to build bridges instead of tearing them down. And when we go into this whole free speech thing, I think it's interesting that on the right, they want to fight for free speech as long as they can speak the type of free speech that will make others be violent towards others, that will make others be divisive towards others, that will make people feel fearful of other people and things like that. That's their idea of free speech. That's not my idea of free speech. You know, you can They say that you can say anything you want to in this country, but you can't go into a movie theater and scream fire, and you can't do that because that will cause people to be trampled and hurt.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the words that you speak have power, and any public speaker, including myself, understands the power of the words that they speak. People don't get killed because of their actions. They get killed because of their words. Martin Luther King did not get killed because of his actions. Neither did Malcolm X. Neither did any black leader. None of them, exactly zero of them, got killed because of any type of retaliation. Even white leaders, they weren't killed because of whatever they did. They were killed unless the government killed them. Other than that, it was the words that they said that they knew would galvanize other people to take action. And when people don't appreciate the actions that are going to come forth, they take action themselves. And I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting how, Charlie Kirk was killed today, shot and killed, exercising the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, because he was a big proponent of the Second Amendment. Guns, right? The right to bear arms. Charlie Kirk quoted himself that there should be a couple of gun deaths per year in order to keep in order to validate the Second Amendment. So I'm like, okay, but
where are you quoting that from, OG?
Oh, let's see here. Let's see here.
I'm not saying he didn't say it. I just said I'd have to hear that.
Well, that was but let me just.
I don't want to operate on the premise.
Hold on, because hold on. Hey. I follow Charlie Kirk. I follow Charlie Kirk. I know a lot about him. You know what I mean? So, but to satisfy you here, Charlie Kirk's words on guns. Let's see. Needless to say, let me see. Needless to say, you're not going to find a whole lot of negative things that he said at this hour. You know what I mean? But let me see. Okay, here it is, right here. And these are the things that he was saying just before he was shot. That's crazy. He said, I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational.
So right before that, he said you will never live in a society and you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. I think that I don't know what your personal position on the Second Amendment is. Do you think that we should have guns or be unarmed?
Hell yeah. They got guns, I got guns.
Okay.
I believe in guns. Black guns. No chrome. All black guns.
When you say that every adult, and this is our Constitution, right? Every adult of this age should be able to arm and defend themselves.
I believe.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The way that I interpret what he's saying is that it's unlikely that you give guns to everybody and nobody dies. He said, we live in a society. You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry, and you won't have a single gun death. But I think that's worth it. I don't hear him justifying it. I'm saying what I interpret that to be. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can give me feedback.
You know what? I'm going to tell you right now
that if that's the cost of us being able to defend ourselves, it's not justifying it, but it's saying like that. That's part of the cost is that unfortunately some people that shouldn't have guns get them. But that doesn't mean that I would take the guns away. I think that's his position, and I think that's a fair position to have. It doesn't seem
nobody is taking any guns away. That's not what gun control is, and that's not what gun safety is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not what that is. But what I'm not going to do is what I don't do with anybody's words. It's not my job to interpret anybody's words. I'm going to take I don't even do that with the Bible. I take the words at face value because the person who spoke the words knew exactly what they were saying when they said it. And I'm going to give them credit for that. So just like I'm not going to, I don't take Tupac's or Kanye's or anybody's words and try to interpret them for my own edification. We ain't doing that. What I'm going to do is talk about, now I made a mistake. This is not what he said at the speech. These are things that he said in the past. But what he says is, I think it's worth to have the cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. Now, if I wanted to interpret that, what I would be, it would be similar to what you're saying. Only thing is, I'm saying that he's trying to spin it like, okay, we have gun deaths every year. That's a necessary thing. So we can defend ourselves. But he's not taking into account that we would not have to defend ourselves with guns if we weren't putting so much guns out there for people who have no business having guns to be able to use them against us. So,
but see, that's a separate side issue for me. Like, again,
listen, I don't want to get into I don't want to get into the Second Amendment,
malice?
Huh?
Like, why do you assume malice in that though? Like,
because it is malice.
If he says unfortunately,
unfortunately, he said it's worth it to have some gun deaths every year. That's not malice. That's not malicious. What is it?
I think it's putting one value over the other, which is the value of being able to defend yourself is better than the value of being able to be protected. But
there's a difference between
the guise of freedom, but really you have no way to defend yourself from if somebody was to harm you. So he's saying, and I mean, I don't think it's a stretch to determine the interpretation. I don't think
no one will take away my ability to be able to protect myself. However, there are more ways to protect yourself than just guns, and I don't believe that guns should be distributed to everybody just because of a law that was rooted in fear of retaliation because of what they know that they have done to other people. The Second Amendment is all about protecting white people post-slavery because they knew what they had done to an entire race of people, and they were afraid that chickens were going to come home to roost.
You have a call from.
Now, I believe that it was a understandable fear. Like if I know that you know that I've been messing around, sleeping around with your wife and stealing from your barn and propositioning your children, and I know that you found out about it, you think maybe I should protect myself because I know what you might do, because I know what I would do if somebody did that to me? So I'm not going to make him right, and I'm not going to make them right. Now I don't have any. I'm here to talk about that man. I'm not going to talk about all white people. I'm not even going to talk about the whole right, and I'm not going to get political with this shit. That motherfucker was dirty, and it is what it is. And what's going to happen?
That's one point.
Hold on. And here's what's going to happen. They haven't found the motherfucker who did him in. But what's going to happen is it's going to be a white guy and he's going to be a Republican. And then they're going to try to spin like they always do. because it's always one of their own that kills them. Always. But who do they demonize? Everybody black and brown. That's how it goes. So no, he wasn't a decent man. And yes, I feel bad that happened in front of his family. But you know what else I feel terrible about? That he would expose his family to that bullshit rhetoric that he spewed day in and day out. And he only did it for the money, because those right-wing conservative influencers get all the money. They are some money-getting motherfuckers, and it's very, very addictive. I get it. I wish I could make the almighty dollar my guide, so I would go over to that side and start doing the Candace Owens thing. Start doing the what were they, Silk Times Leather, or whatever the fuck they name, something, and the one of them died. The two black women, them Auntie Toms or those Sambos, or the Cartier family, or Jason Whitlock, or any of them fucking, or even any one of them bootlicking black apologist dumbass motherfucker. It's all about the money. It's all about the money. None of them, I don't believe that any of them believe that shit that they spewing, but it's bringing in the money, so the ends justify the means. But how can you continue to advocate for a system that demonizes you, and they all wind up, biting the bullet for the shit that they say. So soon as they say things like there's no racism, what happens? They wind up getting smacked up by what? Racism. And then what happens? Then they come running they black ass back to the black community like, yeah, y'all was right. Yo, fuck you. Stay ass over there. Stay ass over there and suffer with them, just like we've been suffering with each other. But this is really not about race. This is about him. But he was very racist, and he spoke all that racially charged rhetoric, and he galvanized a whole generation of young conservatives. I'm just gonna call a spade a spade. He galvanized a whole generation of young white racists. You know what I mean? To be able to say nigger and kike and gook or chink or all of that shit. Cause yours is the First Amendment, and you should be able to say all of that kind of stuff. I heard this motherfucker say, well, black people can call each other nigga. Why can't I do it? I'm like, and of course, and then the crowd goes wild, like, yeah, why can't I? What the question should be, well, why do you want to? What is your desire to say that? Because I don't think you want to say it the way that black people are saying it to each other. I don't think that you want to say it in a friendly way. Hey, my nigger. No, I don't think that's what you're looking for. So I don't know, man. Don't look for me to ever advocate on that side. This is politics aside, because that shit that Democrats do, I don't agree with all that shit. I don't agree with all that LGBTQ shit. I mean, there are a lot of shit that there's a lot of things that I don't agree with on the Democratic side. But one thing about the Democrats that I can say, at least they believe that everybody should get some. The Republicans fight so that only only certain people can get any. And they want to make sure that not everybody gets shit. Very divisive. Very divisive. And you can what's the old saying? You can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool everybody all of the time. And some people are just sick of this shit. The political climate since Donald Trump has gotten back into office is really, really getting to it's reaching its boiling point, and it's running at a fever pitch. And now motherfuckers are taking action. And now they want to fly the flag half-mast and do all this sympathizing shit. The Democrat. All right, hold on. They want to talk about all of the Republicans and shit that have been a victim of violence this year, and Donald Trump with his fake getting shot ass talking all that shit. The assassination attempt last year. What assassination attempt? Motherfucker, you trying to get Rosie O'Donnell out of the country. Meanwhile, you do a full investigation of anybody who says that they don't like you. But a motherfucker allegedly took a shot at you and tried to take your life, and you haven't launched an investigation into shit. You won't even release your medical records so we can see what actually happened to your ear that absolutely nothing is wrong with. Like, what do you think this shit is? People are getting tired of this shit. And it's going to get worse. Because he is going to mess around and get all of his constituents hurt. This is the first in a long line. People are getting sick of this divisive shit. They're getting sick of other people making them mad at other people who haven't done anything to them. Rounding up people. We got people being rounded up in the streets, being disappeared, deported to countries that they don't even come from. What are we doing? What are we doing? And we just supposed to look the other way. I guess all of this is protected under the First Amendment. And the second, huh? Enough is enough. There is a certain line that you can push people to, and then when you cross that line, then you can't control what happens next. So if you don't want to control the words that you say and not recognize the power that they have, positive and negative, then these are the things you get. I didn't mean to turn this camera on and talk negatively about this man, because I have a family too, and I know how they would feel if something like that happened to me. But I know that I would never put my family in that type of situation where they could possibly be harmed like that because of something I said. And trust and believe, I would have to be really careful about the things that I say, because I wouldn't last as long as Charlie Kirk lasted. You know what I mean? Being solo dolo. Even like you look at Farrakhan and all that, they made sure that their security was on point, because they know and knew that they could not get away with their First Amendment rights. The First Amendment rights don't work with us. I mean, look, Muhammad Ali, all he said when he was alive, before he was had his boxing license suspended or revoked for 3 years in the prime of his career, was, look, those people ain't never do nothing to me. The only people who ever did anything wrong to me were the people in my own country. So why should I go over there and fight them? I don't see anything wrong with what he said. No lies told, no people blamed, no names named. So the First Amendment doesn't work for our people. It's not designed for us. Now, I could bellyache about that all day, but I'm not going to. But evidently some people have decided that action speaks louder than words. And unfortunately, the action that they took this man's life right in front of his family. But he has to take some kind of accountability for it. And now that he's gone, he's not there to protect his family anymore. So me being a forward thinking man, I would have elected to do everything up front to make sure that they were protected. But, white privilege makes you think that you can just say whatever you want to say. And they evidently they don't have enough things to be able to say, because they always bitching about not being able to say even more. But you never hear them wanting to say, oh, I love you, or I really adore you, or you're great. That's never what the First Amendment rights that they're fighting for. It's always the rights to diss somebody. That's what the First Amendment rights are for them. But fuck that. You know what I mean? When Rush Limbaugh was alive, he was on that same type time. He was on that same time. But cancer got him. And, you know, I normally say fuck cancer. But when he got it, I was like, Well, we all got to go someday, right? At least he got a chance to say goodbye to everybody. But he made $50 million a year talking that bullshit. $50 million a year spewing that nonsense. And yeah, I used to listen to conservative radio every day. My dad used to listen to that shit in the radio while I was in the car. I had to get my own car so I ain't have to listen to that bullshit no more. But I'm well versed with the conservative side. I'm not ignorant to any of the ways that they think, and they are extremely racist. No, they are not racially charged. Their whole movement is founded on racism. So much to the fact that they want to divert your attention to all the way back in the Jim Crow days and the slavery days. Oh, those are the Democrats that were that owned slaves and that fought for slavery on the Confederate side. Like, yup, you're right. How about now? Any changes now?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, look,
I don't want to interrupt you, man. It's like when I put a quarter in, man, you gotta let it play out, bro. You saying a lot of truth, man. I'm not gonna argue. I'm not gonna argue with the man. I hear the way you feel, man. I don't agree with everything, but you have a right to feel that way.
Listen, I don't think that anybody should be hurt. I don't advocate for that. But I'm not a non-violent man. I've punched people in the face. I've been punched in the mouth.
Yeah.
But you know what? Anytime I got punched in the mouth, it was always for something that I said. It was never for anything that I did. I took note of that. So if you're going to talk shit, keep your head on a swivel. But I guess it's hard to keep your head on a swivel when you got a sniper, 200-300 feet away. I get it. It's a shame that he went out like that, but it's also that way. So we have two shames going on.
And can I push back against some of these things, man? You said a lot, so I don't want to.
Absolutely.
Be able to address everything.
No. Go ahead. Do your thing.
So, again, going back, I said, look, this is a decent man. This is what I meant by. I explained it once, but
slow down, Kim.
We didn't see this man attack anybody. We didn't see this man cause anybody physical harm. We didn't see him advocate to take people's rights away. You can disagree with that, but I think we're gonna disagree about the first thing I said. I said, well, what did he say that made you think that he was indecent? He said the gun death things. He brought up the quote. I think that's a little bit debatable about what maybe his intentions were. You say you take it at face value. I take it at face value, but we come out with two different interpretations. And you believe that Charlie Kirk was racist. You say that for sure?
Absolutely, 100%.
And what do you think that he has done to make you believe that? Well,
racism is prejudice plus power. So he definitely had the prejudice part nailed down. So the prejudice? Well, prejudice, another word for prejudice could be choice. He spoke for white Americans.
Are you sure? And
yes, I'm sure of that.
He only spoke for white Americans. You know, he ran a yearly summit called the Young Black Leadership Summit annually, where he had aimed to address violence in Black communities. And what he would do is he would go into these communities and talk about plantation politics, basically saying that a lot of the Democratic voters, the Democratic lawmakers, have convinced Black America that our policies are your policies. And You know, when we bring up things like Richard Nixon and the civil rights saying, I'll have niggas voting for Democrats for the next 200 years, and you bring that up, people act like that's like that didn't happen. It did happen. He's saying, look, I believe in free choice. I don't think that just because this political party says they're advocating for you, like Malcolm X said, that don't mean that they advocating for you. That doesn't mean you have to agree with me. That just means that you have to recognize that these people aren't your friends. And I think that a lot of people started to independently come to the decisions that it's like, yeah, these people really aren't for me. And you say yourself, you know what I'm saying? You're not with the Democratic rhetoric all the time either. So, man, this is a gentleman who went into these black communities, man, and advocated and had a dialogue with people. I don't interpret that as a racist individual. He said, well, man, maybe money motivated, right? And I seen Ted Cruz he was sitting there with Tucker Carlson. He said, the money's on both sides. Don't worry about where the money's coming from. Whatever you choose, the money will show up. If you want to be for gun rights and you want to do the NRA, there's money on this side. If you want to be anti-gun rights, there's money in that too. So I'm not super convinced about the money narrative. I think like they said, money is on both sides. BLM made out with a lot of money. Both them women had mansions and everything off of racial stress. So I'm not convinced it's always a money thing. I'm not saying money has nothing to do with it, but at the end of the day, that is not always a very convincing argument. When you have somebody putting their family safety on the line, it doesn't always seem like it's about money to me. But beyond that, man, what do you think that he did that was racist?
Well, let me explain something to you.
Okay,
you know, a broken clock is right at least 2 times a day. At least 2 times a day. Like if you count in the seconds.
A blind squirrel can find some nuts.
There you go. Of course, he has a very good sense of smell, way better than you and I. But you know, but like I said, a broken clock is right at least 2 times a day. There have been plenty of racists who have done so-called good things for the black community. But you have to think about what their true intentions are based on
what do you believe his true intentions was when he was talking about strengthening black families, addressing absentee fathers, talking about prison reform.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you something.
Down black unemployment. What were his motives?
Let me ask you this. Make sure that we get some things clear. Let me find out your position on this. Do you think that Donald Trump is racist?
How do we define racist?
Do you think that Donald Trump is racist?
Prejudice?
There's no way you haven't thought about this. Do you think that Donald Trump is racist? Yes or no?
No, I thought about it a lot. But
okay, so you already know your answer. So what's your answer?
The terms mean different things. For some people, racist means what the book.
I'm not asking about anybody else. I'm asking you. Do you
I would
think?
have to know what you mean by racist.
Why? You don't have to know what I mean by racist. Wait a minute. You don't know. Wait a minute. Because you're already giving me your answer. You don't have to know what I mean from my perspective to answer the question that I asked that only involves your perspective. I didn't ask you. Oh, fuck. God damn it. The damn app crashed. This night sucks. This night fucking sucks. Hold on, man. We gonna get it back. And yo, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, man. I can't stand that waffling shit. You know what I mean? When we get to define, what you mean define? Answer the question, my dude. What? Well, where the hell is it? Why is it taking so long? The app was taking all day to come back up. Move it. Hold on. We're going to be back in a second. Hold on. What we got? taking all day. All right. I gotta call him back. Hold on. Hold on, y'all. I gotta get him back on the line. So we're gonna do. All right.
You have a call from.
All right, hold on, Kim. Mm-hmm. I gotta get him back. Oh, damn, he was calling back in. All right.
You have a call from
Billy B. Commons.
Sorry, my man. The app had crashed and you got cut off. All right.
I was talking for like 3 minutes before I realized I was like, oh, what's happening?
But yeah, like I said, I'm asking you a question not from that you already know your answer to. It doesn't matter what my perspective is. It's all about what your perspective is. Do you think that Donald Trump is a racist? It's a yes or no question.
If you ask me point blank, yes, I think he's racist.
Okay, so if it's point blank that he's a racist, why did you ask me to define racism?
Because for that term, it means different things to different people, and if we can't agree on the terms, then it makes everything after it makes it redundant to talk about.
But you
don't agree with the term, with what the terms mean, then we can get on a whole tangent. If we just clarify what the terms mean, then we can understand each other's perspective a lot better.
Okay. I understand. I'm going to say this. Normally, when people say things like define this or define that, it's not normal. I think that you probably are actually genuine in trying to, get some clarity on it to make sure that we're not just pointing the finger at somebody. But most people who talk like that, they don't want to answer the question because that's their attempt to be politically correct. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
I totally understand.
So the reason that I asked you a question is this. That question is this. Because if you think that Donald Trump is a racist, but you know that he brags about the things that he's done for some black people, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
As a matter of fact, since he became president, he always wants to point out how he did this and that, and the third for the HBCUs, which is all bullshit because that was all Obama's policy. But he wants to take ownership of those things because he knows that will generate more notoriety, acceptance on some sides, because he knows that dealing with just his base is a dangerous move because they're just more registered Democrats than there are Republicans. So if everybody votes, Republicans lose time and time again in the presidential election. So he wants to put on the appearance of doing things for black people, but he doesn't really care about black people, but because of his history. His history of discrimination, his history of condemnation, the whole thing with the Central Park 5 and things like that. He would have never done that if he thought that the suspects were white. It would have never happened. But he was very proactive.
What I hear you saying is that just because somebody does something good for a group of minority people, how they feel in their heart is paramount. And regardless of what you claim to do or what you do, ultimately your heart is what you're judging them on. You're saying Charlie Kirk's heart was he was racist. Do I understand that correctly?
I'm going to say this. I expect all white people to be racist to a certain degree. I'm not offended by that. Well, I mean, because I mean, white people could easily define me as being racist towards them because I advocate for because I'm unapologetically black and I don't work for any other causes of any other race until we get our shit together. So, so, but like I said, racism is prejudice plus power. So so the power that they use with their prejudice is the power to be able to dominate others, to exclude others, to demonize others, to kill others, to hurt others, to disenfranchise others. As a black man, I do not possess that power. There's nowhere in my resume or my skill set or my ability that will give me that will afford me the chance to keep white people out of my neighborhood, from going to my schools, from getting jobs where I work, from being able to move into my neighborhood. I don't have that kind of power. I don't have the power to disenfranchise others. So when you look at racism in those terms, and then you look at what Charlie Kirk was doing by trying to make it look like.
How do you think that he disenfranchised black people?
I'm not saying that that's what he did. I'm not saying that's what he did. He used his power to put out false rhetoric, false information, false. Okay, like when he says I saw him debate somebody, and he said that there were more black fathers in the home before during Jim Crow and before civil rights movement, right? Okay.
And I think many Pan-African studies people would say the same thing. Like a lot of Pan-African studies professors, it's just that sometimes, and it's weird that I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead, because I want to let you finish your point.
Okay. Well, if I was asked that question, or if those facts were presented to me, I would say, well, who was doing the counting?
So you disagree with the data?
Yeah, I totally disagree.
Okay, and that's fine. Like
now, wait a minute. I don't disagree with the energy, but I definitely disagree with the data, because we know that black people were marginalized and not correctly entered into databases that were taken before. So now that we have the internet, we still have ways of skewing or doctoring or giving out misleading information. At least we can conduct our own polls where we were pushed out of that process before. You know what I mean? Easily. So if you just use,
that's a fair point. But if you were to say, based off of the information that he has available, when he's saying, hey, I think that fatherhood was more prevalent in the black community prior to the civil rights movement, based off of the information that I have available. I'm not saying that information is right. We don't know, right? Because data can be skewed. You're just working with the information that you have. It seems like, and you correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like you're interpreting that to say that he's pushing a narrative when he's saying these things, as if he is being malicious in his intent by pointing to those things. The broader point being is that he is advocating for the return of fatherhood in black homes. And he is saying that the government has replaced fatherhood for a lot of our single black women or our single black mothers. And when he's saying, hey, this thing used to not be as big of an issue, let's say he is wrong about that. Is the broader point still true that what he's advocating for, we both would agree on, it should be bipartisan, that the family should be restored in black communities?
How can the government restore families?
No, but that's his whole point, is that the point of the right in general is that less government.
Well, see,
Like
all right, I'm gonna tell you something.
Less government.
I'm
We
going
don't like the government involved in in our business.
no, they say, no, wait a minute. The motherfuckers say that they don't like the government involved in their business. But if you look at everything that Trump is doing, and he was a big, giant advocate for Trump, and Trump has done nothing but put the government.
Disagree with Trump on a lot too, though.
No, when he disagreed with Trump on that Epstein shit, and then Trump told him to shut the fuck up and get on his side, and he did it.
Okay, right.
That's exactly what happened.
Take it at a time. You were saying.
So getting back to the whole,
what Trump said about government and how they play a role in black families.
Hold on, right no. We were talking about the fathers in the home. Now, if you just use the eye test, yeah, you're gonna say there were more fathers in the homes when we were growing up. But
and that may or may not be true, right? We don't know.
The thing is, the areas where you're talking about, there probably was some truth there. Like if you're talking about down south, that's probably true. If you're talking about the big cities that have always had problems with single motherhood and shit like that, then it's probably not as true. But you also have to factor into the equation all of the great migration of black people that moved up north as a family and may have broken up as a family when they got up here.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, you have to know about that, and then you have to talk about that part of the story. Charlie Kirk wasn't. I'm
sorry. Go ahead.
Charlie Kirk and people like Charlie Kirk weren't doing that. They would never do that.
The beautiful part. The beautiful part is that every week he would go to a campus in a university, and that people with that information had the ability to present that information. Now, he can still agree or disagree with it, or maybe not draw the same conclusion. But everything you just said,
Dillard,
you're advocating.
Dillard, let me tell you something. Let me just tell you something before I let you go on. There is one thing that black people and white people in the United States have well in common. Neither one of those sides know their history. Neither one of them know their history. Black people don't know their history, but they think it's something that they should be ashamed of because of slavery. White people don't know their history, but they think it's something that they should be proud of because of their perceived superiority. Neither one of them
agree.
Neither one of them know what the fuck they're talking about. So just because you go down to a HBCU and debate a bunch of black people, they're down there as college kids just trying to get an education and make it and get ahead. And they went to a school where they were accepted and where they thought that they would, some of them, not all of them, but many of them felt like they were doing something for their communities or whatever, by going to a black school and stuff like that. It works for some. Some have that mentality, others don't. You know what I mean? Yeah. I've met those on both sides of the coin. But
for sure,
it can't be. You can't think that just because you go to an HBCU or just because you live in a black neighborhood or just because you've lived a black experience on some kind of educated level that you're going to understand.
It doesn't inherit knowledge.
Knowledge, yes. Wisdom of experience and experience of history, no.
Yeah, right.
No.
Right.
You know what I mean? White people don't know how black people truly got to this country, and black people don't know. We all think that is slavery, but when you go and you look at the documents and all of that, none of that shit is supported. You know what I mean? You're not going to tell me that, there weren't even ships. We call them slave ships. There were no such thing as slave ships before the late 1800s. They were boats. And there's no way that a boat that was essentially a sailboat, all those diagrams of the Middle Passage, slaves being packed in at the belly of ships and starting, all that shit is fucking false. They didn't have ships that size. They didn't exist. And how would they have made that trek from West Africa which is 3,500 to 4,000 miles away from the Americas. Even the Bahamas, where was the actual drop-off point, the Bahamas, the Caribbean islands. So how that was a 2-month fucking sail. How did even the pirates survive that? How? They didn't have electricity. They didn't have a storage system to where they could keep their food cold and preserve it and whatever. Where'd they get enough fresh water with all of these slaves, with all of this cargo on the bottom? You know what I mean? With that, you're going to have people dying, rotten flesh, getting sick as shit in 2 months. And I imagine you had to do it in the warmer months because they would freeze to death coming across the ocean at that time. And there was this word that I could not fucking remember, and my man Dane Calloway, put me on, and the word was ocean gyres. Ocean gyres are these big giant whirlpools out there in the middle of the ocean, and there's no way you could get from Africa to the Americas without going through those ocean gyres. And them shits would suck you up like the black hole. It would be like sinking in quicksand. And there's no way you could get around it. There's no way you could get around it coming from Africa to the Americas. What are you going to do? Go all the way down to South America and make the trip another, I don't know, three or 4 months longer? Mm. You know what I mean? So there has to be a better explanation than just the middle passage, especially when the documentation, the official documentation, does not support the transatlantic trade slave in the way that we have.
This is what I love, OG. This is what I love, OG, because, and I don't mean to, I'm trying not to be dismissive of everything you said, because I'm all for us being more educated about our history. Right, so I don't interpret the next thing I'm about to say as being dismissive, because I'd love to circle back to that. But what I hear is that you want people to be more educated about where they came from, and that the colleges has been insufficient in teaching people that. That's one of his other main talking points, is that we're paying a lot of money to not even figure out the true history of where we come from. And a lot of HBCUs have failed to educate the Black community on where we come from.
They haven't failed. They haven't failed. They haven't failed. No,
that college is not educating people.
College is definitely educating people. I'm a college graduate. I would not be. Huh? What'd you say?
And I don't want to dismiss your college experience.
No. I couldn't.
What do you think? What do you think that you learned in college that you couldn't learn online today for free?
First of all, in college, you learn things that you would never study on your own because you wouldn't even think about doing it.
Maybe not 40 years ago.
No. Now, you know how many people? Just like hold on. Just like I Google everything. Other people don't do that shit. They don't even know how to do it. They don't know how to do it. And
I think the younger generation does.
They know how to do it, but they don't know. Listen what I'm saying. They know how to research, but they don't know what to research. Knowing the questions to ask is just as important as knowing the answers.
Sure.
They don't know how to get to the answer. When I was in college, when I was a young man, I couldn't speak like this because I didn't have this knowledge. I'm a 55-year-old man now who has studied, and college taught me how to study. My study habits were shitty in high school. It was all memorization for me. So when I got to college and that wasn't working anymore, I had to actually, I had to do the work. I had to learn how to really research, verify, you know what I mean? Not just critically think, but I had to actually go through the steps. Like, it was like one big, for me, college could be defined as one big mathematical equation from freshman to senior year. And I say a mathematical equation because I couldn't just come up with the answer. I had to show my work. And what I learned what I did on one side, I had to be able to do on the other side and come out with the same answer.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Okay. Let me rephrase then. I don't think people would say that college is useless.
No, I've heard people say it. I've heard people say it.
College is not worth.
I've heard people say exactly that.
Well, yeah, and maybe this is the perspective they come from. I can't speak for everybody. Let me just speak for myself. Moving forward, so I'm covering just what I think. I can't advocate for other people.
Okay.
For the price point today, it definitely is not. It doesn't hold the same value that it did in generations prior. For the price point today, a lot of people are getting degrees that mean nothing in the modern workplace. When you looking up people get degrees in feminist dance therapy and they took out Sally Mae loans to pay for them, and that there's no job available for that, I think when you have people on college campuses like a Charlie Kirk that would say a lot of colleges are manipulating young people for profit by telling you y'all are getting an education when y'all haven't learned any skills that are applicable to the real world. It goes as far as education. A lot of the education isn't really teaching you your history. It goes for a lot of applied trade and applied sciences. I think that if you aim in correctly, if you know what you want to do, college can be a beautiful tool. If you know that you need engineering experience and you know how to fast track that with the right courses, it can be a beautiful thing. But for a lot of people, it's a waste of time. And you can get into the statistics of how many people are actively using what they majored in, and it's laughable considering the amount of debt that we go to and that we put young people in and the stress that that causes for future generations. And it's only going up from here.
Well, I do agree.
You have a man that's actively calling it out on the college campuses. That's part of the thing.
I agree. I do agree that college is way too expensive. I totally agree with that.
Yes.
Where I disagree is, okay, I see. Okay, when I was going to college, nobody told us to go to college so we could get rich. They preached you went to college to learn how to learn, and they were right. And that's still what college is for. But because now,
don't be so quick to say that.
No, I'm telling you, that's still what it's for. But wait a minute. But that's no longer advertised because since then we have lost our ability to financially sustain ourselves. You know, we've lost a lot of industry where before you didn't have to go to college in order to be able to feed your family. Now you have to. Mm-hmm. We took trades, we took the vocations out of schools.
Yeah, that's true.
So we took away our ability to be able to know how to do anything and to be able to do anything for a living. You know, we took that away. So now college had to be about making money. You know what I mean? I got my degree in 1993. I have never had a job that required a degree. Mm-hmm. And I don't give a fuck. Because I can do any job. I could do. Hold on.
You were never told that this is what's going to get you this amount of money. That's a lie that my generation and the generations coming after me was told, that this is the way to success. We wasn't informed trade school was an option. Go get a skill in electrical work. Go do an apprenticeship. We was told that college was the way.
Wait a minute. We were taught the same thing, my man. We were. The people who went to college because they knew that would get them a better position regardless of what they did. And it's still true. So even if I was an electrician or a mechanic or whatever, that meant I could manage electricity or electricians. I could manage automotive. I could manage a plumbing or whatever. I would be the boss. I could still do it on the associate level, but because of my degree, I would be fast tracked faster to the management level. It still works that way. But we were taught the same as y'all were taught, go to college because that's how you're going to make money and all. We were taught the same thing. But there was still, just like now, there's evidence to prove that you don't have to go to college. There was evidence then. And statistically, high school level educated people still still take up the bulk of the millionaires and billionaires in this world. That has not changed.
So here's some stats for us. 46% of college graduates work in a job directly related to their field of study. 54% of graduates are not working in any jobs directly tied to their study at all. 27% of college graduates work in a job that relates to their major, indicating that 73% do not use their degree. 73% of people don't use their degree. Now, if we want to go with what you said, and I agree with what you said, college ideally should be, we learn how to learn. We learn how to get answers. We learn how to
think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for that. But the data is showing that's not what's happening. Like that is not what's being applied when we actually go there. And I think
wait. Is this data compiled by people who went to college or people who graduated?
There's a Forbes article.
Because I don't know too many college graduates that said, "Damn man, what did I get this degree for? That was a waste of time." I know
plenty. Look, my wife, man, she got a degree in social work. She early childhood development. My wife. And she's a black woman, man. She was a Porter Scholar, man, at the University of Louisville, here where we live. Where she got her degree, and she's not using her degree right now. She's still making good money.
Wait. Why?
And the majority of her peers that did get a degree in their field, they're not making nearly as much money.
Wait. Why would you get a degree in social work if you didn't want to be a social worker?
But see that,
no, I'm just asking because particularly, hold on. The reason I asked that question is because social work, psychology, degrees like that are normally they normally graduate people who really want to do that type of humanitarian work. Like regardless of the money, like that's what they want to do. Yeah. So and they also understand, especially in social work, you already understand. It's like graduating with a secondary education degree. You already know you ain't getting rich doing this.
Yeah.
You know this. You know that 10, 20 years later, you're going to be bitching how they don't pay teachers enough. You already know this. You knew that coming in.
So look. For my wife, look, you preach to the choir. I done had this conversation with her a million times. So, but I try to get into her headspace. It's like, okay, so what made you choose that degree? Did you have intentions of using it once you got it? Obviously, she says yes. And what I reason and I understand is that, for one, I don't think people do a cost analysis and really plan 5-10 years what this job is going to look like. And in Kentucky, I can't speak for anywhere. I can only speak for where I live. In Kentucky, where I'm at, I think the case ratio for a social worker is supposed to be 1 to 7.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's like 1 to 54.
Right.
The workload is way too much for any social worker. And you don't, even hearing that statistic, once you get in the field, even if you have all the purest intention, a lot of people realize they even if they want to do the right thing, it's too much to do. And a lot of people are really unprepared for it once you get boots on the ground and you have to go in homes and you have to start doing a lot of the leg work. And I don't think that she was completely unaware of it. But I think once you started doing a practicum at our local DCBS, you realize like, hey, this may not be what I want to do.
Okay.
But the bigger thing is the broader point that I made initially is that our colleges, because in every college you have what a career counselor, right? They kind of maps up, they sit with you and they map out these things with you. What I've come to realize in my own college experience is these people aren't motivated to help you pick the best career path. They're motivated to try to get as much money off of you as possible. And if you can get somebody who's there for a 4-year degree and knows what they want to do, and you can convince them to go for a graduate or a doctorate, yeah, because that's how you get your money. So these career counselors aren't invested in their students. And when you have a Charlie Kirk go out and call these things out and say, these colleges are not for you, even as I'm sitting here, they're not invested in making you the best person. They're not teaching you how to learn. They're indoctrinating you. And I would say earlier, OG, would you concede that a lot of college professors are not there to teach you how to learn, but they are teaching people to be indoctrinated into what they believe? Because I got a lot of professor friends. I know that's the case.
I don't agree. I don't agree with that.
We've seen college professors on Twitter today celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. Because they let the personal, I didn't like this man, and now some of them are losing their jobs. And I don't believe they should lose their jobs, but I do think it speaks to the broader point. You're not there to help your students. Your students, what you believe,
Dillard,
is to say this is right.
Dillard,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
They don't have those college professors they playing with house money. That's not their money. They don't have any vested interest in you not doing well.
No, I'm not talking about the professor. I'm talking about the career counselors.
Okay, hold on. Here's the thing with the Here's the thing with the career counselors, and I don't like to call them career counselors. I just call them guidance counselors because one thing you have to accept and understand about when you go to college is that you are 18 years old by that time, and you are considered to be an adult. So you choose your major. So they're just going along with whatever major that you chose. Now, I'll give you a personal experience. When I first went into college, I went in as pre-med, and I was getting my ass kicked. I did not have I didn't have the study skills. I didn't have the raw aptitude. I did not have what it took to ever be a doctor one day. All I had was determination, or what little of it was left after those first couple of semesters. You know what I mean? And desire. That's all I had. I hadn't been tutored and groomed like the other students who were going to become doctors. They didn't start when they went to college. They had already had mentorships by doctors and shit by the time they were in 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grades. They were ready to go. So I had to go to my counselor, and I let her know what was going on. I said, listen, these classes for this major are really, really tough. You know what I mean? I'm not doing well, and I don't want to get kicked out of school or whatever. So first she said, okay, you know what? I'll hook you up with these classes for exercise science. It's another way to take the same classes that you would take to get into medical school, but you'll do it as if you were becoming a gym teacher, and it'll be a little bit lighter for you because you can take the harder classes at the end rather than the beginning. Mm-hmm. So I had to let her know what was going on with me instead of letting my ego dictate like, I'm gonna do this. You know what I mean? Because and that's what a lot of these students now are doing. They're not taking control of their situation. So even with the exercise science, I realized this ain't working. You know what I mean? It's time for me to do something different. So my counselor, she was a good counselor. She said, okay, She said, all right, Omar, this is what we're going to do. She said, well, what do you like to do? I said, well, you know, she said, she looked over my courses. She said, well, you do good in English. You know, are you like good at writing and reading? I said, yeah. She said, well, you know, what do you think about political science or maybe pre-law or something like that? Maybe administration of justice. And I was like, what? That sounds interesting. She said, well, tell you what, I'll schedule some classes for this. See how you like it. And if you like those classes or whatever, then the semester after that, then we can start going in that direction, depending on what you know, whether you like it or not. And those classes, even if you decide that you don't like them, they'll be your electives that you need anyway, so you can get back on track with. So you can't let somebody navigate your entire. You're supposed to be an adult, yet you're putting it in the hands of everybody else to guide you. You know, you have to decide. Had I really understood this whole concept of counseling and guidance and all of that kind of stuff, I would like to see now is every student be asked, list all of the things that you like to do in your spare time, whether you consider it to be a hobby or not. I don't care what it is: dancing, singing, poetry, music, art, electricity, technology, video games. List those things, and let's get you a curriculum where you take some of those classes of the things that you just like to do. You know what I mean? So you can get a little taste of what your options are, because you may find that you could have a career in this. I would have never graduated in administration of justice when I was in college. Had somebody asked me, well, don't you like to rap and sing and speak in front of people? And when I saw my man was taking communications and shit, and he a DJ and he's scratching and playing records, I was like, you can do that as a degree? He was like, yeah. I was already a junior by this time. I ain't fucking starting over. You know what I'm saying? But had I took some of those classes or knew about those options as a freshman or at least a sophomore, I would have went for that.
Absolutely.
I didn't know. You understand what I'm saying? So we need 100%. People out here to at least let you know what your options are. But if they're taking what they're taking what you're giving. You say that your whole dream, your whole life, and the reason that you came to college was to do this. All right, so fuck it. You doing well. You know what I mean? Nobody's complaining. Yeah. You know, it's the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. You ain't saying nothing. Ain't nobody doing nothing. It must be working.
Absolutely. And I think that's the broad point that's being made, is that if you don't have clear direction on what you're doing in college, you may need either one, a mentor, OG, career counselor, somebody that has some life experience to either like course correct you a little bit or ask you some questions. Or when you're younger, we need to start teaching people to plan ahead, because too many people are going into colleges with no real path or clear direction. And I think that, and I'm not saying that you're naive to this, but I do want to point out that colleges don't have any issue with people coming in undecided because they're being paid. It's not in their best interest to have undecided students. It's like, no, while you're undecided, pay for these classes. Like
I think that's a good thing.
I don't think it is, because once you look. So one of the biggest things that Charlie Kirk is critical of is degree inflation. And one of the things that he had advocated for was like, hey, the marketplace and what academia is providing at a higher level, there's a disconnect between the two. There's a disconnect between what we offer here at college and what the market needs once you get out of college. And if my degree doesn't equate for me being able to provide for my family or for myself even, then there's a disconnect somewhere. If I can't use, let's say I did sit down with a career coach and I did figure out what I wanted to do. And let's say what I wanted to do is, let's say I wanted to be a doctor, like you said, pre-med. Okay, why am I taking Spanish if I want to be a doctor? Or why am I taking dance class if I want to be a doctor? Well, they make you pay for these classes in addition to what you're studying in your field. You have no interest in these electives, but you're required to pay for them in order to complete your degree. They are completely unrelated to your field.
No, they're not.
They provide you with nothing other than this right here.
That's not true.
And you broaden your horizon.
That's not true.
And listen. People have overinflated the broaden your horizon.
Why you say that?
Because through the college experience, if you're living on campus, if you're going to after like school events, activities, you get way more broadening the horizon actually living and doing things than sitting in a classroom being lectured to about things.
Oh yeah?
I completely agree with that, because if there's an event, for example, we have a lot of events on campus. We have a venue on campus called the Red Barn at the University of Louisville. And the Red Barn hosts events like religious events, cultural events.
Mm-hmm.
This week may be Moroccan food event, and you just go out and you get Moroccan food.
Mm-hmm.
Those things are what actually broaden your horizon. You sit down, you go up, you get a plate, you sit in line, you meet people, you learn about the culture,
mm-hmm.
and you're doing it voluntarily.
Mm-hmm. That's
you're
cool.
You're not doing it because
what if you
have to pay $5,000 for this class.
Wait.
And
I think that what if you have social problems and you don't like to be around people?
Then putting you in a class and making you pay for it doesn't solve that.
But my question is, what if socializing isn't your thing?
Yeah, again, the answer is not putting you in a class and making you pay $5,000.
Okay. So you're paying $5,000 for the whole semester. You're not paying $5,000 for one class.
If you take 3 electives here in Kentucky, that's $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 grand.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. But it's not one class, right?
Those 3 classes and the time that I spent over the course of a semester, where I'm forced to sit down and hear lectures.
So
I may or may not. Let's say if I'm somebody that does have social problems, does this solve my social problems? It doesn't. But if
Dillard, do you know the difference? Wait.
I'm hungry.
Wait a minute. Do you know the difference?
Moroccan food.
Wait, do you know
over at this venue?
Do you know
they offer free food? I'm gonna go over there and I'm gonna check it out because I'm hungry.
Do you know the difference?
I have to learn about this culture.
Wait, so learning a language wouldn't help with being able to communicate with that culture that you're trying to learn?
Sure, it would.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that you should be compelled to by saying you can't get your degree unless you do this.
Do you? Wait, why not? Why not? Wait, why not? You wait. It's you just like that's like saying that you shouldn't work at a job unless everything about the job is exactly the way that you want it. Like you know what the job is hitting for when you go to get it. So you have to decide whether you can work within those parameters enough to be able to sustain employment. But do you know the difference? Do you know the difference between I'm sorry. Do you know the difference between a college and a university?
Okay.
Well, a college only teaches one thing. So, like, you go to a nursing school is a college. A university is a bunch of colleges in one area. So when you go to a university, you're not going to a university to learn only one thing. You're going to a university to become well-rounded, to be able to expand yourself. You know, just because it's just like, you know, how when you may have been in math class and maybe you made it to advanced math, when you were in high school, and everybody who didn't like advanced math always complained that you're never going to use this. You're never going to use algebra in life. You're never going to use geometry. You're never going to use those things, right? That's what we always said. And the only reason we said it is because we weren't good at it. The people who were good at math never complained about how they were never going to use it in life.
Math up until we get to imaginary numbers. That's when I.
But here's the thing. Here's what we did not understand when we were taking those math classes back then. And here's what a lot of people who never got good, who never mastered general math, so they could not do the advanced math. Here's what they don't understand to this day. Learning math, advanced math, builds pathways in your mind, and it makes you think. It makes you go through the process of things, and you actually become smarter than other people. I mean, literally smarter than other people, because you can figure things out instead of getting frustrated and saying, oh, the hell with it. I'll just take a shortcut. Or I'll just change the labels, or I'll just steal it,
100%.
or I'll get somebody to take the test for me. You understand? One thing that people who are good in math understand is that you can't just come up with the answer. You go through a battery of operations in order to finally get to the end. And that way of thinking makes things easier for you in life, time and time again. But 100%. The people, so had our teachers given us the opportunities to just say the hell with it, I'm never going to use this again in life. They didn't do that. They made us learn it, or we flunked it. And what we didn't know is that we did use those processes that we learned in algebra later on in life by making us think things through instead of settling for the fastest answer.
Yeah. So can I start you there? Because I have a few things to point out for that. For one, here's what the differences are with math and with college courses. Math at a general education level, 1 year is free. Our public education is free. Our college education is not. And then two, there was a lot of people that, like you said, they still did cheat. And they still did say, forget it, I'm not learning that. Those people exist. Mm-hmm. And those people exist not only in general education, they exist at the college level. Mm-hmm. Just because you force them to go to a class doesn't mean that they will learn anything. But you have an incentive to make them pay for it, right? Because you have staff, you have teachers, you have quota you have to meet, you have a college stadium to keep up, and a football program, whatever it may be. Right? You have incentive to make people pay for classes regardless if they're learning or not. So again, going back to the broader point is that let's start where we agree. Doing difficult things that you don't want to do is absolutely beneficial for your mental, for your problem solving skills. It's just that the solution isn't making people pay for it, because the data has showed it doesn't work. It works for who it works for, meaning that for you as an individual, you may say, hey man, I really don't enjoy doing this. But you're good at it, or you're willing to try to become good at it, or do it because, you want to get a good grade, whatever the reasons may be. And then you may say 10 years down the line, hey man, I'm glad I did that. That helped my brain learn abstractions. It helped me not to give up when I'm frustrated. It instilled in you skills that were applicable in other areas of your life unrelated to math. Mm. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm saying I 100% agree with that. For a large portion of the population, that's not going to be true.
But the general population is not going to go to college. Everybody doesn't have to go to college.
For their degree is where I have an issue with. It's not that I don't think that that's a beneficial thing to do, but it's only beneficial if people decide to participate in it. And compelling them by saying your degree is mandated on you learning the history of Polynesian footwear, it's like that doesn't, like, it works good in theory, but in practice, it has not shown to broaden people's horizon
I totally disagree with that.
Okay. Well, let me speak. Let me speak from my personal experience. I took a few what I would consider unnecessary electives on my way to higher education. I feel, and this is just personal, this is anecdotal, so give me some grace here, okay? Because I don't want to make it a fast and a fast rule. I feel when you use that term, broadening your horizons, like doing the stuff you may naturally feel inclined to do. I feel I was much more broadening my horizons when I was attending on-campus events than I ever felt sitting in a class in a small, tiny wooden desk, having a teacher talk for 40 minutes. And the person next to me, I can't even talk to, or I'm disrupted. And then as soon as we get out of this class, as soon as class is over, they run and do whatever they want to do. I didn't even get a chance to talk or whatever to these people. When I do talk to them, they don't want to talk with it. Maybe some people want to talk. But if you provide a space, you say, look, we're holding a multicultural or a multi-religious event on campus. We got free food, we got dance, we got music. All are welcome and invited. And you backdooring in, hey man, here, let's learn about this culture. Let's learn about this policy. Let's learn about this here. Let's learn about camera work. If you want to become a director, here's some tools that we have on campus for starting a podcast. And you make it open to everybody. For one, people are coming voluntarily, which means they're more willing to be open to learn, be open to experience, because they came there not because they were mandated to, but because they wanted to. And then you start to see people, they have a platform to meet each other, to talk, to socialize. I think, and let me rephrase from earlier. I don't think that what you said about as far as math and mandating people is a bad thing. I will change my stance and say it's less than ideal. It's less than ideal. If there's a better way to do it, let's try to look at the data, see what's working, and transition to a better way of doing things. That's what I'm saying. And I think that's what Charlie Kirk advocated for, is that being critical of colleges and see if there's room for improvement, where can we look at and try to make an improvement? Because there's a disconnect. And the data shows that there's a disconnect.
I don't think that Charlie Kirk knew what the fuck he was talking about. And I'm sure of that. But he definitely had. What? I said I don't think he knew what the fuck he was talking about, and I'm sure of that.
Okay.
But I know that he had a clear agenda. I don't think that he was a good man. I think he was a piece of shit. But I am sorry that his demise came that way, because I wouldn't.
Okay, can I give you some quotes he said about this topic?
No, because we're about to be up out of here. And you know what? And a lot of people didn't come to this show, and I'm really surprised. But I'm actually pleasantly surprised. I'm actually pleasantly surprised, because I really thought that they were going to chew on this shit like meat. You know what I mean? I thought it would be mad trolls and because I didn't want to do this show anyway. I might delete this shit.
Yeah.
But
what would you have done otherwise if this didn't happen today?
I would have talked about what I like to talk about, which are social issues, family issues, relationship issues, jobs, community things. You know what I mean? Pathways of thinking and shit like that. Those are the things that interest me, and that people who follow this channel, those are the things that interest them. We do politics because it is current events, and there's a certain duty that I feel to make sure that these things are covered too, because they're part of life, and we talk about life on this channel. But I want to say this. First of all, I appreciate you calling in and giving this dialogue, because it's not about whether we agree with each other or whether we support a particular person or an entity. It's not about that. I see things from a certain perspective because of the way that I've learned things and the way that I've done things, and I can see the good in certain things, and it really gets under my skin when I encounter people like a Charlie Kirk and a lot of people on the right that just don't seem to have any appreciation for anybody besides themselves, and they think that they have to, that everybody has to do things their way, or think in the way that they do, or there's something wrong with them. You know, I have a problem with self-righteousness. You know, I don't always do the quote unquote right things, and I definitely don't always do the wrong things. You know, but I'm a human being and I'm highly flawed, and I understand that. And just like I expect to be accepted by my peers, I make sure that I try to accept others too, as long as they don't have the evil gene that runs through them, which would make me reject just about everything about them. So, you know, things that he would talk about as far as race relations or cultural relations are concerned, were very insensitive to me. You know what I mean? Like, things can't be the way that, like, culturally, you can't say that the way that these people do things are wrong. We're never taking accountability for your part and what they're doing. You know, I don't remember hearing Charlie Kirk bellyache about his own community, whatever that might be. You know, well, it depends on how what you're talking about. You know what I mean? I definitely didn't hear him. He would get on black people about blaming white supremacy for many of their problems, but I've never heard him say anything along those lines like white supremacy was wrong and we have done many things to oppress black people.
Yeah,
I haven't heard him.
Him talk a lot about racial discrimination.
No. White supremacy. Has he ever said anything? No, because those aren't the same things. White supremacy. Have you ever heard him say anything about white supremacy?
How are we defining white supremacy?
White supremacy is when you believe that white people are better than everybody else, and their example should be followed.
I think he's condemned white supremacy on numerous occasions.
I know for a fact that he hasn't.
But now, if I see evidence of the contrary, are you willing to accept that?
Exactly. Of course, I would accept it.
If I send you a video, OG, are you willing to concede that?
Where he's going to say that white supremacy is wait.
Completely condemned.
Wait. It's one thing. Hold on. It's one thing to condemn white supremacy. It's another thing to not acknowledge that you have done it.
But if he says, hey, racial injustice is happening because white people weren't given the same opportunities to become homeowners, that's an injustice that happened. And we are trying to correct that injustice. And here are some ways that we have corrected that injustice.
Wait a minute.
By offering.
Wait.
When you hear things like that, how do you interpret that?
Wait a minute. Read that again.
No. I'm not reading anything.
Okay, okay. Quote it again. He said,
"Quote: This is just a compilation of things that he has said in these sort of spaces, in these conversations."
What did he say again?
Pointed out and being critical of policies that have been oppressive to black communities in the past. You're saying that you haven't heard him become critical of white supremacy, and I'm saying if white supremacy is defined by these bad policies that have historically been oppressive to African Americans and minority groups, and he has called out those bad policies, is that not the same as him also, because he has condemned white supremacy, is that not also the same thing as him condemning white supremacy?
I would have to hear it.
Those racial injustices?
I would have to hear it, because I've heard, cats like him. I've even heard Donald Trump condemn white supremacy. However, they still practiced it.
And that's what I'm saying. What would be good enough for you? What would I have?
How about stop? How about condemning it in the way like fighting against it?
But that's what I'm saying. When he created a whole entire organization to go into black communities and to address fatherlessness, address racial inequity, build homeowner programs. Is that you're saying even if he does all that, you said earlier in this conversation, you can still do all that and be racist. So what is the metric that somebody has to do to prove to you that they're not racist? And the second question is, why should they prove you? And the third question is, how much action does a person have to be proved before we can say that, hey, that person, regardless of how they feel on the inside, they're still doing, and they're correcting injustices in these communities. Let's take
Listen. We're already listen. It's after 4 o'clock, my dude. We gotta go. But I'm just gonna say this. If you're okay with Charlie Kirk, that's fine. But I would never be okay with somebody like Charlie Kirk. You know, all of that divisive, that divisive rhetoric, that racist rhetoric, and all of that. And you know, and I'm not one to always be talking about somebody is racist and blah blah blah, because like you were saying, it's a very hard thing to prove. And that's why people get away with it all the time. Because you can always say that that's not being racist. That's just telling the truth. Or that's just, you know, I'm picking out an example. Or that's just just practicing equality. But it's rooted in racism because at the end of the day, you're not looking for other people to advance. And I don't see anything wrong with not wanting anybody to be better than you. You know, you don't want to be overrun, but this country was founded on the principles of racism, and that has not diminished in any way. But when you have people like Charlie Kirk trying to tell black people what they should do in order to free themselves because he thinks that this is the way it should be, whether you're talking about from a Christian perspective or not, if you totally discount that it was coming out of slavery, we were dealing with a people who were mostly illiterate, totally. Yeah. We're not allowed to read and write. And when you can't read or write, you can't explore, because they also weren't able to leave their plantation. So how can just like you were giving the example of culturalism by going and socializing with other people, well, slaves weren't able to do that. And so when you have a whole group of people, millions of black people who could not read, write, or socialize, and now you have freed them, and now they're free to learn how to read, write, and socialize. How do you think that socialization is going to go? When I
think it goes well. I think it goes
okay,
well.
Well, you can think that all you want, but it's not going to go well. It's not going to go well because you're dealing with the people who enslaved them or who fostered that enslavement, because all white people could not afford slaves. Slaves were like. But I mean today.
I think.
Well, today. Wait. Today is yesterday, because it's the same energy. If no racism was going on today, then we wouldn't be talking about this, and there would be opportunities for black people that would have been seized and acted upon for us to get further. But we are, we shoot ourselves in the foot too, and we are hundreds of years away from anywhere close to being where I think that we should be. Maybe at least 700 years away, or farther.
OG, I don't want to take any more of your time, man. For one, let me say, every day, man, you get on here, man, you dedicate it. We always have fun topics, man, political, non-political, music. I appreciate you ever having the platform to even have these conversations, man. So I want to give you the flowers, man. Say I love you, man. You make third shift fly by, man. When I'm tuning in or whatever, I appreciate you. We can agree to disagree, but man, I appreciate you ever having the platform.
I want to thank you for calling in, and I appreciate your dialogue. And I want to tell you, I'm a third shifter for life now. I was a first shifter for life all my life, but I started working. I did third a couple of times, and now I'm second. That spills over to the third, and I make the third longer by doing this show in the middle of the night and all that. But
Yeah.
I do this because I enjoy it, and I enjoy learning. I learn more from discourse or disagreement than I do from agreement. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense, because
it does.
Because I have to think out why somebody else would disagree with me or feel differently. But we also have to be mature enough to accept that those differences are okay, and we can learn and we can be different as we go on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That can happen. So I want to thank you for calling in, man, and please continue to come through the channel because we ain't done. We got a lot more to go. But you have a good night.
Absolutely.
Be safe.
And just so I can leave on some bull, that's the exact spirit of what Charlie Kirk operated in, man. So you doing good work, man. I'm off here.
Yo, you about to make me do the devil. Get out of here, man.
I'll talk to you, man.
All right, peace. He was about to make me do the devil with that last comment. That's crazy. Kim, I want to apologize. I know you probably had that fire in you. You didn't get a chance to get your shit off. I apologize. I'm sorry. The 2 hours went by fast as shit. I want to thank all of y'all in advance. Let's do these birthday shout outs and get the fuck on out of here. All right, we have some birthday shout outs to do. Some people were born on this glorious September 10th, and they deserve to be acknowledged. So let's go about our business of acknowledging them and making them feel special because they are special because they are special because they are S-P-E-C-I-A-L. They get the R-E-S-P-E-C-T. They are S-P-E-C-I-A-L. They get the R-E-S-P-E-C-T. They are S-P-E-C-I-A-L. They get the R-E-S-P-E-C-T. They get number one out the box, Tina Raven. Happy birthday to you. And also Jamila Staying Focused Ransom. And also Antoine D. Lindsay, Stephanie Sanders, Digger Richburg, Thomas Gouthney, Olatan Amalayo, Cicely Carr, Eshawn Wilson, and last but not least, Tracy McKinnon Pickens. I want to say happy birthday to all of y'all. And I hope that today finds you all in good health, happiness, mind, body, soul, and spirit. And that goes out to each and every person out there born on this glorious. Excuse me. September 10th, anywhere out there in the world, worldwide, internationally, and universally, all of y'all go ahead and turn up. But don't turn up too loud. Just turn up loud enough so everybody can hear you. Rock out, rock on and do the damn, the rock out. Rock on and do the damn, rock out. Rock on and do the damn thing. You do your thing, y'all. Represent the queens and kings. You do your thing, y'all. Represent the queens and kings. Good things happen to those who wait. Great things happen to those who grind. And anything can happen to those who go for theirs. So go hard, go for yours, and remember, like I said, I didn't really want to do this show. I don't regret it as much as I did like an hour in. I want to thank all of y'all who hung in there. I want to thank y'all for hanging in there. This wasn't an easy one. I didn't like the camera angles. This ain't one of my favorite things. But at the end of the day, a life has been lost, and that was a right-wing influencer's life. But there were also 4 children there was a school shooting today too, that isn't getting half or 1/4 or 1/8 of the press that this whole Charlie Kirk killing has done. And that's sad. So all my Second Amendment people, just remember that although we may advocate for the Second Amendment, we also have to keep in mind that there are consequences for all of our actions. There really are. And so, as we, okay, let me get this thing in here. As we exercise our First Amendment rights, our Second Amendment rights, as we believe that we should be able to say whatever we want. And of course, I mean, there's a strong argument that we should be able to do that. I don't even have a problem with that part. But we have to recognize that our words have power. And there may be times when that power is used against us. There may be times when that power that we use can hurt some of us, even if it hurts ourselves. I'm sorry that what happened to Charlie Kirk happened to Charlie Kirk. But I also understand the impact. What the hell? Okay, let me get this part out of here. Okay, there. And there. And there. I think we good. Now, what happened to the rest of this shit? Oh, God. You know, when you extend these damn, you know what? We just gonna get on about it here. Listen, peace to all my day ones, my everydays, and my brand news. I love y'all to death, resuscitate y'all. I love y'all right back to life. We will be back tomorrow night with another Daily Go-Getimism show. We will not be talking about politics. The camera will not be facing this way. We will enjoy our lives the way we're supposed to, and nothing will get in the way of that. But please hit the like button, share the show, subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. Show love to you and yours. And be careful out there, man. You know, our longtime supporter, Emily Dunlap, she lost her son yesterday, which is way more important to me than Charlie Kirk could ever be. When people who are close to you go through tragedies like that, it hits home, because you know it could be any one of us, and it has been a lot of us at one time or another. Dilla B Comments, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you mucho, man, more than you ever could imagine, especially tonight. Thank you for the super chat, and thank you for the dialogue. Y'all be good, man. I'll holler at y'all later. And Rod Kimmer said, peace. All right. How do you even stop this shit? All right.